Hello everybody, it's vanburman here and welcome back to another video, to the yearly video. This one is ever so slightly late, although hopefully I will be able to excuse myself. I've been fairly ill over the Christmas break. I've had tonsillitis and other more embarrassing illnesses. So I'm trying to get this done in a single take. I've already had one take, so this is the second. So that's good, really good stuff. But I am running out of words, so I want to try and maybe do this as succinctly as I possibly can. It's quite important to do the yearly video, of course. I have moved house as well, so hence everything behind looks very different, and nothing is particularly well set up at the minute. I've only really just put my desk and a few bits together. Everything else, all the cosmetic-y bits are all away in boxes still, so lots to do. But hopefully you've come here for my top 5 and my rationale as to why I've put them in my top 5, and I will try and do it, like as I say, as succinctly as I possibly can. So I don't know what I'm going to do in terms of transitions and everything, but I will have a go at Premiere Pro today. So we'll see. So number 5 is Hi-Fi Rush, which came out I think at the start of the year, so quite an early inclusion. It is a quite like uniquely stylized, I guess like sort of cartoony style in my mind, sort of Jet Set Radio kind of video game. And it very much involves having to attack to the rhythm of the beat in the background music, which is a really cool mechanic, but one that, because I have no rhythm, I'm very bad at. Although I do appreciate that the game is actually very good and interesting. And it also helps that it runs and plays really well on the Steam Deck as well. That probably is a reason as to why, it is included in here, because it is a very enjoyable experience to play handheld and to have in that environment. So it's something that if you've got a Steam Deck and you're into, those sort of action games, then I think it's well worth, having a look to buy, particularly as I imagine it's probably on some sort of sale at the minute. So pretty good indeed. Number 4 goes to RoboCop. What's the thing? Rogue City. A very interesting shooter. And I know it's been given a lot of praise unironically, but I think for me the praise is ironically, because I sort of don't really like shooters per se, and this one sort of scratches the sort of I wouldn't say it's necessarily an itch, but like a niche, I guess, that I enjoy. So things like the game I also played this year, which was the Starship Troopers extermination game, or the Terminator Resistance, I think it was, that came out as either 2 years ago, I think. That they're like bad, but also really good. I know the RoboCop game actually has a bit more going for it than maybe both of those two, but it is like that quite fun, enjoyable, yet I guess almost simplistic kind of and quirky game. So I think that it's had a really good job done on it, and by far it is the best RoboCop game that I've played. There are obviously a few out there. I think there's one for the PlayStation 2 actually that wasn't half bad, but yeah, that one is real blast to play. It's quite short, I believe, but yeah, it's well worth picking the game to play on a long weekend or something like that. You'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it, particularly if you're a fan of the films as well. So yeah, that's why I think it makes it onto my list at number 4 for this year. And number 3 goes to possibly the most anticipated game of the year, but obviously at third, not so great, which is Starfield. So I say not so great. I really enjoyed Starfield this year. Now, I know it's had a lot of its critics, and I don't know, I feel as though there was a misalignment of expectation based on what people thought they were getting and what was delivered. For me, not being in the loop of any of the Starfield stuff and literally coming to it, even just watching the stuff sort of a week before it was going to be released, I feel as though I got the experience that they were promising. I don't feel as though I was cheated or missed out on anything. I enjoy sort of existing in the Bethesda universes that they create for the most part, apart from the online ones. So for me, actually, it was a really good experience, and I had a lot of fun with it. I think the reason that it falls, in the middle of the pack for the list, I mean, you can clearly see that you'll probably be able to clearly see by the end that there are two sort of low budget games and then two really impressive games of the year, and Starfield does sort of fit in the middle of that. I don't think in any year it wins my game of the year anyway. I think it was always going to struggle to hit that, but for the enjoyment that I had out of it, and just for things that I know it's stupid, but just things like having the adoring fan in there, which is a bit of fan service, but I do enjoy those sort of things. So, and it did bring some happiness and enjoyment while I was playing, and I think you can't underestimate that kind of impact that little mechanics and tweaks and stuff can have on your gameplay experience. But I enjoyed building the ships and being the different factions. Some stuff was obviously laborious, and there can be some criticisms over the fast travel, sort of taking away the explorational aspects of it, and the fact that the planets are not homogeneous and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, for what I expected a Bethesda game to do in space, I think I'm fairly certain that it hit all of that. And I myself am not really necessarily a big fan of space games, so it reached expectations. But yes, I thought it was a good game. So thank you, Bethesda. Good job. Now, make Elder Scrolls 6. And number 2 on the list, for the first time in decades. Sorry, I haven't looked at that. Last year I put a Final Fantasy game in the top 5. But I guess a mainline Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy 16 is number 2. Should have started off with that, shouldn't I? It is not without its flaws. Do not get me wrong at all. The battles with the summons, where you're, fighting as Ifrit or whoever, they feel really forced, and like they're not like impactful enough like the action is in the main game. Which I actually didn't think was too bad. Obviously, I myself am a big, big lover, I guess, of the turn-based system or systems there or thereabouts. And Final Fantasy 16 is quite far away from that in reality, but it did some good stuff. It was enjoyable. It was definitely a step up from 15. Which 15, I don't think 15 was particularly that great, but 15 was also an improvement on 13. So even though 13 you could say is the closest to a turn-based system than either of those two, but it did it so badly. Anyway, I'm not getting into ranting about Final Fantasy 13. I want to talk about how good Final Fantasy 16 was. I thought like they did lots of stuff really well. Obviously the graphics were very good, really polished. A lot of the side quests and things were engaging enough without feeling too laborious. Some of the set pieces were really interesting and thought out and quite had grandeur to them. The story was also good enough as well for a Final Fantasy game. I think I didn't really have too many issues with it. There's a couple of unexpected twists as well, which is always nice. And barring a small amount of padding about 2/3 of the way through the game, I think it was really well paced as well. So it actually surprised me for as good as it was. I bought a PlayStation 5 purposefully just to play Final Fantasy 16. So and then sold it after I'd finished Final Fantasy 16. But the point is that I don't feel as though I'd wasted my time like I had done when I specifically bought the PlayStation 4, I think it was, to play Final Fantasy 7 remake game. That was a low point, to be honest. But I think they've done a lot better. Like I say, I could go for a laundry list of improvements, but in terms of games for this year, it's got to be up there. And I do actually think it is one of the Final Fantasy games worth playing. Probably doesn't hit on my top 10 list of Final Fantasy games, but yeah, still pretty good. And number 1 should be of no surprise, and I am going to row back on some of the things that I have said previously on other Game of the Year lists. That's a great thing when you are Judge Judy and Executioner on your lists, is that you can make a decision as to how you want to work these out. But basically, I've gone for Baldur's Gate 3, had a full release this year, all 3 of the acts. And quite frankly, it is a superb masterpiece. And if you're in any way interested in Dungeons and Dragons, RPGs, or rich story-based games, you should absolutely go out and buy it. It's well worth the money, which not a lot of video games are nowadays. And more importantly, or maybe just as importantly, your time as well. So, and it can be played on the Steam Deck adequately. I had some success with it. Some bits, particularly like the Baldur's Gate section, is a little bit of a struggle, or at least it was. I haven't played it on the Steam Deck for a while, but at least it was when it was sort of in its earlier full release stages. But yeah, it's one of the modern masterpieces, and probably not even just a game of the year. It is probably a game of the decade, I would suggest. And it may go slightly beyond that as well, potentially. So, yeah. I don't know if there's too much more not too much more I really want to say, or maybe even now can say. But yeah, for me, Baldur's Gate 3 was the one. I know it's been on a Game of the Year list before when it came out in early access. Thing is, it was that good in early access that just with the unpolished Act 1 of the game, it made it onto a top 5 list. So it shouldn't really be any surprise. Well, not really any surprise to me now, obviously, that the full release would be the Game of the Year in whatever year it came out in. Be quite interesting. I've said this a number of times, but to go through the last 10 or 15 years of, I guess the full 15 years now, of top 5 games and work out which one is, work out a definitive list. And I'm going to say that, having not seen what was all the number ones, I'm going to say that it's going to struggle to beat Baldur's Gate 3. I don't think I really give any more praise than that. It's had widespread critical, commercial, peer review success, everything, all the success. And I'm here only to add to its success in my very tiny, insignificant way. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I hope you all have a happy new year. I'm probably really not going to edit this video. I just want to get it out there. And all I can say is that I do genuinely apologize for not being able to have this out earlier. Timings have all been very bad. Illnesses have all been very bad. I'm on my way to recovery. So as you can probably tell, a couple of days ago, I wouldn't have been able to even record the video, or in any way be able to succinctly make my point on each game. So that's good. Good progress has been made. I am planning to do videos throughout the year. Now, because I've been in the process of moving since about August this year, which does coincide quite starkly with the drop off in videos. So I don't have any ideas for any videos as of yet, but I'm sure they will come to me in a vision. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Have a great 2024. Stay safe, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon. Bye for now.